Hare Krishna, Viram Shant Prabhu.
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा।
Krishna, Hare Krishna. How are you? आप भी भक्ति शास्त्री कर रहे हो?
हाँ जी बोलिए।
Could you read chapter 7, chapter 8? Any time. Mataji, if you can give me hosting rights, I can share a video meanwhile. What is doing? Mataji, you can give me hosting rights.
Yes, Prabhu.
Give me hosting rights. मेरा video. Can you make me host?
You are like co-host. Okay, I'll make it. Oh, sorry. I met someone else first. Just a minute. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, it's not audible.
Very tight family. Actually, father and mother were Gurudas and Shamuna, and they were really taking care of us in a very personal way.
These are the devotees arriving from a concert tour in Germany. And a group of devotees headed by Mukunda and Tamal went over there. And it looks like they're coming back to London for the Rath Yatra. After our record, Hare Krishna Mantra record, was released in Europe, it became very popular to the point where we had an agent who was booking us concert tours all over Europe, especially England, but in other countries too. And we became so famous that we would put on these concerts with thousands of people in the audience who would pay to come and chant Hare Krishna and see this famous group called Radha Krishna Temple. And they would line up for autographs after the concerts. We used to go out to George's house in Esher, just the six of us for kirtan with George and his wife, and sometimes his friends would come over. On one occasion, George says, we ought to make a record. One thing led to the other, and very quickly, George called us into the studio and we did this Hare Krishna Mantra record. And I should also mention that Mukunda and Gurudas and I always knew that we would be doing this. So from the time we got to London, we began acquiring instruments and practicing. We were a pretty practiced group, so that by the time George discovered us, we already knew how to do this stuff pretty well. Jamuna with her voice and Mukunda, he was the lead musician. He had everything orchestrated. He played the harmonium, the drums, whatever was required. I acquired an S-Raj, which is an Indian instrument, a bowed instrument that sits in the lap. You get that eerie violin type sound. So we were already kind of a group before we met George. We knew that when we met George that we must have some kind of a musical relationship. So we were already pretty well polished. And so when we went into the recording studio to do this record, we did it in about an hour. The record was in the can in an hour. Paul McCartney was there, and he did a lot of the mixing in the control booth. This was an exceptionally ecstatic Rath Yatra. This is the first real formal Rath Yatra we had in London. We had one in 1969 where I built a cart. There were only 6 original devotees plus a few English devotees, and the cart collapsed 100 feet after it got started in Marble Arch, caused one of the largest traffic jams in London history. And there was no one around to record that. This is really the first major Rath Yatra in England, 1970. And there were so many devotees there from all over Europe they came, and from America even. One of the most ecstatic Rath Yatras in London ever.
And
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to another week of Bhakti Shastri. Let's begin with invocation prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patagamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Okay, so which book are we studying right now? Anyone
Bhagavad
remembers?
Gita.
Oh, wow, Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we did which chapters last week?
7 and 8 chapter are completed.
Oh, wow. So what are the names of these chapters? What's the name of chapter 7 in English and in Sanskrit?
Chapter 7 is knowledge of the absolute.
Yes. And in Sanskrit, it is called as?
Prabhuji, in Sanskrit, I don't know what should we call.
Okay, we don't have to speculate. Baldev Vidyabhushan has already given the names to these chapters. Okay, anyone else can try? What's the title of chapter 7 and chapter 8?
प्रभु जी 7 का विज्ञान योग
Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Sometimes it's also called as
Okay.
Jnana Yoga. And chapter 8, chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, yes.
Attaining the supreme.
And the name in the Sanskrit? Different authors have given different names to these chapters. It's not that Krishna was giving the titles to this chapter. And he was saying on the battlefield, chapter 1, Arjuna, now let us begin. Now this is chapter 2, chapter 3. This is what commentators have done. Right? So even Baldev Vidyabhushan and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given a different name. Baldev Vidyabhushan has named it as Tarak Brahma Yoga, chapter 8. And today we'll be doing chapter 9, Raj Guhya Yoga. And if we talk about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I think he's given Aksharam Brahma Yoga. Need to check. So yeah. Okay. Any points that you remember from chapter 7, chapter 8? What were the main themes? What was the subject matter of chapter 7? How many of you could read chapter 7 and chapter 8 on your own during last week? How many of you could open Bhagavad Gita at least once in last week? Means after the class and before this class, you picked up Bhagavad Gita and you opened it at least once to read. Oh wow, 3 devotees. That's a great breakthrough. Okay, so what were the subject matters of chapter 7?
Prabhuji, we know about material nature, superior energy, inferior energy, and material nature like earth, water, fire, और higher spiritual nature है जिसमें it comes consciousness and living soul. And God as the source of everything. Krishna says all beings and energies are arise from me. And 7.1, Krishna says only hear from me. And peoples became attached to material things, temporary pleasures, forget spiritual truth. And we did 4 kinds of dushkritana and 4 kinds of sukritana. 4 kinds of muda, naradhma, mamaya, ashuram, bhavam, astriya, and 4 kinds of sukritina, jigyasu, artha, arthi, and gyanis in
Okay,
chapter 7.
thank you. That's it. So, okay, what else did we discuss from chapter 7, chapter 8? Anything that you remember? Any point that touched you, made you think, made you introspect? Any point of practical application? Any point that addressed any philosophical inquiry or philosophical doubt?
Prabhuji, we also learned about different types of people who surrender but not to Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, but to impersonal form and demigods.
Okay. What did we learn about them? Yes.
We learn we learned that whoever surrender to demigods goes to their loka, and also that is also material, and they will also come back. And
Okay, yes. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavetyalpamedasa. Devan deva yajoya. Mad gata mamapi. Krishna says, who worships me comes back to me. Okay, what else did we discuss last week?
Prabhuji, we discussed in
Wait,
chapter 8.
we already spoke, let others give.
Okay.
Any point that you remember from last week? Any topic that we discussed? What can we recollect? Okay, how does chapter 7 end? or how does chapter 8 began? They both are connected with each other.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
So, chapter 8 begins with the Arjuna's questions, like he asked the 7 questions, and Krishna replied his questions. So,
Oh, great. Yes, Arjuna asked questions. So, why did he ask question?
because of the last 2 verses of chapter 7, as the Krishna explained about some of the Brahman, he mentioned some of the specific words. So Arjuna picked it and asked the question related to them.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Okay, what were some of the questions that were asked, put forward by Arjuna to Krishna in the beginning of chapter 8? What were some of those questions?
Can I?
Arjuna asked 8 questions to to Krishna. Let us see if we can recollect all 8 questions. What were the questions?
What is Brahman? What is
Okay.
self?
Kim tad Brahma? Kim adhyatmam? Yes. Second, what self?
What are fruitive activities?
Kim karma? Purushottama? Yes.
And what is material manifestation?
Okay. Sadi bhutadi devamma?
What are the demigods?
Okay.
So I don't know these.
Yes. These 5 questions are asked in verse 1. Kim tad Brahma? Kim adhyatmam? Kim karma? Purushottama? Sadi bhutadi devamma? Sadi yagyam chake vidu. Okay, good. What else? What were further questions in verse 2? Anyone else who has not spoken so far? Let's quickly recap. Quick. Very important questions, those 3 questions specifically. Yes, Priyanka Mataji.
Prabhuji, last three question was who is the Lord of Sacrifice and how he lives in the body, and last question was how someone can remember Krishna at the end of death, at the time of death.
Yes. Adiyagyaha katham kotra dehismin madhusudana prayad kale cha katham yeyosi niyatatmabhi. Adiyagyaha. Who is Adiyagya? Katham. Kotra. Kaha Adiyagya means who is Adiyagya, and Katham, how does he lives in this body, Dehismin Madhusudana. Prayana Kale, at the time of death. Katham Geyosi Niyatatmavi. How can one know Krishna at the time of death? So this chapter 8 is a question answer session between Arjuna and Krishna specifically. So Arjuna put forth 8 questions at once to Krishna. In our question answer session, we usually ask one question and the speaker replies. Then another person asks one question. But here, Arjuna asked 8 questions at once and Krishna is replying. Okay, so what are the answers? What's the first answer? Yes.
The indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman.
Okay, yes. Aksharam Paramam Brahmam. It's Akshara means transcendental, indestructible. What else? What were the other answers to these questions?
Prabhuji, his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self.
Okay, Aksharam
Second.
Paramam Swabhavo Dhyatmam Uchyate. Yes.
And third is action performing to the development of material bodies of the living entities is called karma, fruitive activities.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so don't read. Share in your own words. That's all. Yes, what else? What else? What else? Yes, you're right. Okay. Uh, let's quickly go through a brief recap of these chapters, and then we'll quickly move to chapter 9. So, chapter 7 began with a verse from Krishna. Maya Sakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya. Krishna is so enthusiastic to explain how to become the best of yogis that he described in last verse of chapter 6, Yoginam Api Sarvesha. So he's emphasizing on hearing, Tat Shunu. But in what consciousness and what spirit? Maya Sakta, Yogam Yunjan, and Madashraya, in these three manners. So first three verses he speaks about the knowledge that he's about to give. He's speaking both Gyan and Vigyan. If someone knows this, there's nothing further shall remain to be known. And a person who's interested in this knowledge is also very rare. Manushyanam Sahasreshu. And the person who actually understands and achieve perfection, that is still further. Yatadam api siddhana kaschin mamviti tatpada. Then he starts speaking about his energies, first of all. He speaks about his material energy, bhumera punalavayu khammana buddhirevacha. Then he speaks about his para prakriti, aparyam vitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. And then he says, I am the source of both para and apara prakriti. I am the source of creation, source of destruction, source of maintenance. Then he speaks about how he's maintaining everything in this world, just like all the pearls are resting on a thread. He's the sustaining force. Then he gives all the verses, Rasoham apsu kauntaya, Punyo ganda prithivyam cha, Balam balvatam chaham, till that verse. And he's giving so many examples that he is the sustaining principles and how someone can always see Krishna, always remember him in any condition. Even while living at home, one can become a sage by remembering Krishna through these things. Then, if Krishna is everywhere, why someone cannot see Krishna? And he speaks because of the modes of nature. And Devi Esha Gurmai, Mammaya Duratya. Why a person, if Krishna is everywhere, he's the controller of even the modes of nature. Why someone doesn't take shelter of him? And then he explains because Devi Hesha Gurmai Mammaya Duratya, being influenced by this potency, which is my energy. And what's the solution? Mameva prapadyante, maya metam tarantite. Only through surrender, someone can overcome this material energy. Devi overcome this maya. If only through surrender can someone conquer this maya, which is controlling everything in this world, why people don't surrender? And Krishna says, four kinds of people who don't surrender. Namam Dushkritino Moodha, because they are Dushkriti and four different categories. Moodha, Namam Dushkritino Moodha. Prapadyante Naradhama, the Naradhama, Maya Hya Pritgyana Asuram Bhavam Ashrita. And then who are the people who actually take shelter of Krishna? Chaturvida Bhajante Ma, Jana Sukritino Arjuna, Artho Jigyasur Artharthi Jnani, Cha Bharatrashapa. And then which is the best among these four categories? Krishna says, Desham Jnani Nityayukta Eka Bhakti Vishishyate. Among them is the Jnani. Why? Because he is most selfless out of all the four and he's in the knowledge. Then what about remaining three? Krishna says, Udara Sarva Evete. Everyone is pious, but still, Jnani Tvatma Mematam. I consider Jnani to be my natural self. And then how does one come to the stage of Jnani? And what is that Jnana? Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanvan Mam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Samahatma Sudurlabha. One who comes to this realization that Vasudev is everything. That person finally takes shelter. Okay, someone takes shelter of Krishna, someone does not take shelter of Krishna. Then what about someone who surrenders but not to Krishna, but to someone else? The process of surrender is there, but the object of surrender is different. The demigods and the impersonal aspect. And Krishna says, Kamastastashrita jnana. What about them? Their knowledge is stolen by kama, material desires. And they are less intelligent. Antavattu phalam tesha tad bhavatya alpamedasam. They are alpamedha because they are interested in antavattu, something which is perishable, right? And then even what about other? And Krishna says, I give that intelligence, I give that faith through which their faith is sustainable in a particular deity. And the worshipper or demigods go to the demigods. Someone who worships me comes back to me. And then avyaktam vyaktim apannam, less intelligent things I manifest from the unmanifest. They don't know my real nature. Then naham prakasha sarvasya, I am not revealed to everyone. I am not revealed to less intelligent. I reveal myself only to the devotees, not to anyone else. Uh, uh, then Vedaham samatitani vartamanani cha arjuna. And then he says about how does one get influenced by this Maya? Anyone remembers? In the last during the last of chapter 7, what is the cause? There are two causes that we discussed. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata. So Ichha and Dvesh. What are these Ichha and Dvesh? We had elaborate discussion. What is Ichha and what is Dvesh?
Ichha mean desires, our desires.
And Dvesh? So
I
yes,
think material nature covered like that.
so Ichha is something we desire and Dvesh means something that we are averse. So there are two types of Ichha. I desire Krishna, I desire Maya. There are two kinds of Dvesha. I don't want to serve Maya, I don't want to serve Krishna. So anyone who is in this material world, Ichha Dvesha Samuttena, Dvandva Mohena Bharata. So these dualities in this world are born out of these two things. Ichha of sense gratification and Dvesh to Krishna. Ichha Dvesh. Then what's the solution? Yesham Tvandagatam Papam Jananam Punya Karmana. So anyone who has performed bhakti, unmukha sukriti karyas that we discussed, they can bhajante mam dridhavrita. They can with dridha determination, they can worship Krishna. And then in the last two verses, Krishna says about Kritsnasya Jagat. Te Brahmana vidu Krishna adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. And then Sadi Bhuta Didevamam Sadi Yagyam Chaye Vidu. So this was chapter 7 in a nutshell. Uh, uh, so hearing about Krishna, knowing Krishna's material spiritual energy, how Krishna controls the modes. So surrender, impious never surrenders, and those who surrender to demigod and impersonalism, and how someone is bewildered by Maya and how can become free by knowing Krishna. Right? This is chapter 7. And then we also discussed in the last week chapter 8, where Arjuna asks 8 questions to Krishna. What is Brahma? What is Adhyatma? What are karma? What is Adibhut? What is Adidaiva? Who is Adiyagya? Where is Adiyagya residing? And Prayan Kale Chakatam. How can one know Adiyagya at the time of death? These were the 8 questions put forth by Arjuna. And Krishna has answered very systematically. Who is Brahman? The Aksharam Brahma Parva, indestructible living entity. What is Adhyatma? The nature of that living entity. What is Karma? Any action that generates next body is Karma. What was the fourth question? What is Adhibhut? What is Adhibhut? This material manifestation. which undergoes 6 types of changes, is Adibhut. What is Adi Daiva? This universal form, including all the demigods, are Adideva. What is Adiyagya? Who is Adiyagya? Krishna says, I am the Adiyagya, and I reside in the heart of the living entity. And how can one know me? Rest of the chapters. 7 questions answered, 8 questions asked in first 2 verses, 7 questions answered in next 2 verses. Then the remaining chapter is about the last and final question. And what is that question? How can one know me at the time of death? Right. So how can one know Krishna at the time of death? What was the answer of Krishna? Yes. What are your thoughts? How can one know Krishna at the time of death? Yes, Netik.
Prabhu, I don't know the clear answer, but I think by engaging our senses in devotional service, like being engaged in devotional service, because at the time of death we remember the things we do as much.
Yes, thank you. Yes, definitely by devotional service we can know him. And what Krishna says specifically, which part of devotional service?
The mantra meditation. Chanting. Hare Krishna.
Chanting. Okay. Yes. What else?
Hearing. Hearing.
Hearing. Okay. What else? At the time of death, imagine, how many of you have ever seen a person dying? Anyone has any experience of have seen someone in their last stages, or anyone who's leaving the body? Oh, that's why we are saying all these answers. Someone is in that stage, they are on deathbed. How much active are their senses, and how much they are able to comprehend? Many times people are in coma. Many times people are not very conscious. Yes, Bhisham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, my biological father, he died last year and he was in ICU. He was having cardiac issues and some stones in gallbladder, gallstones. So later on, his surgery was not being performed due to his age. He was about 86 years old. So they said that heart is very weak. Anyways, he got worse within couple of days, but he was always chanting the Maha Mantra. So at the time of death, he was having counter in his hand and he was chanting, and all of a sudden he passed away.
Wow, what a glorious departure, Jai. Okay, what does Krishna says? How can one know me at the time of death? What specific answer Krishna gives in chapter 8? It is the essence of whole chapter.
Like whoever thinks about Krishna at the time of death.
Yes, antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Smaran, 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 smaran. Remember this one word, smaran muktva kalevaram, remembrance. One who can remember Krishna at the time of death. All rules and regulation in Vedic scriptures are servant of these 2 rules. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Okay, so this is how someone can remember, one can attain Krishna at the time of death. So naturally, the question would be, do we know our time of death? When will death come? Anyone has any yogic shaktis, yogic powers? You are very strong in astrology. Maybe you can see your chart at this point. Parikshit Maharaj still was very clear that he had 7 days. We can't even guarantee 7 seconds. So then what to do? If we don't know at our time of death, and the only process of attaining Krishna is to think Krishna at the time of death, then what follows?
Be ready.
Yes, Nitik.
We should always remember Krishna.
Yeah, so intelligent. So naturally, if we don't know our time of death, a better part is to always think of Krishna. But what if someone leaves body without thinking of Krishna? What happens to that person? Someone didn't think about Krishna at the time of leaving the body. What about them? Yes, Damani Mataji?
I just want to say something
Yes, please share.
out of topic. Um, Wait, like yes, we should be ready for our that like we should be not afraid. If we are afraid, we will be thinking about that, and we won't remember Krishna.
Say again. Say again. Was that a question?
My
Sorry.
question was like, we should be ready for our death. If we think about our death, that maybe I died tomorrow, maybe I died today, I'm admitted in the hospital, very serious situation, and I'm thinking about just what if I die, what if I die. So I'm just thinking about that thing. So for because of that, maybe I forgot Krishna. So I should be ready for the death because it is one day it will happen. So I should be ready for that.
So yes, Krishna is saying Antkale Mrityu eva. Nahi, Mam eva. So he's saying to think of me. He's not saying to think of death. If I'm thinking about death, then I'm not thinking about Krishna, right? But Krishna is saying to think about me. And if I'm thinking about Krishna, then I'm safe, right? Does that answer your question, Madhuri?
Yes, yes.
So, सर्वे विधि निषेधास्योर एतयोरेव किंकर स्मर्तव्य सततम विष्णु विस्मृत्य न जातुचे. So always remember Vishnu, never forget Vishnu. Okay, what happens to someone who passes away without thinking of Krishna? What happens to them? Yes, Vishnu Prabhu, Neelam Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. That person will be going through all the cycles of life. Means the person will not be liberated, and that person will go around all those yonis.
Yes, they'll not be liberated. They'll go around this different cycle. But which form? What will be the next life? That's the question.
The thought.
Whatever they are thinking at the last moment, they will take the birth of that thing.
Yes, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tameva iti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So what will we be thinking at the time of death? How is it decided? What will be our actual thought at time of leaving the body? How can we know that?
Prabhuji, it depends on the condition, our condition. If we are thinking of something, like if we are taking the example of what was that person who took the name of his son Narayan. Is that- So
Yeah,
he
man.
was, huh. So we Ajamil, huh. So likewise, it depends on the condition. If somebody is having his consciousness set on any particular thing, then on that basis, we can't say
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely. So the question is, in my individual life, what will I be thinking at the time of leaving the body? That's the question. And that answer would be very different for each of us. Is it not? So, what are some of the parameters for that? What will I be thinking at the time of death? So, Priyanka Mat is writing, with what I am attached. Absolutely. And how do I get to decide with what I am attached? Like, is it an automatic phenomena or do I have some control over it? Your answer is wonderful. With what I'm attached. Yes, I'll be thinking based upon my attachments. But what am I attached to?
Like we studied that the attachment is like the things we wanted to talk about. We are thinking for that all the time. We are thinking about a specific thing, so we are attached to that thing. We will get that consciousness at
Yes.
time of time.
Yes. A
The
symptom of
person
attachment. Yes, yes,
love
please.
a person sorry the one which is loved by us the most, we are attached to that particular thing.
Yes. So we are attached to something that we have practiced throughout our life. Yes. The kind of ahar we have taken from our senses. And whatever I am practicing in my present life, chances are I will think about that very thing at the time. It is no magic. Suddenly something else will happen. It may happen. There's always a possibility. Someone can be awarded a PhD degree on the merit, but that's not the general process. General process is to complete the education, to work hard, and get the degree. So that depends upon my practice. Okay, so what then what happens in chapter 8? Therefore, Krishna says, what do I practice? So what is that practice that Krishna recommends? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddha cha. Mai arpita mano buddhir. So if therefore Arjuna, sarveshu kaleshu, in all time, what do you do? Mam anusmara. Think of whom? Mam, me. And fight, do your duty. So this is the practice. How to think of Krishna and do carry out our prescribed duties. Lord Chaitanya also gives an example. Rup Goswami and Sanatan Goswami wanted to give up everything and come to Krishna, come to Lord Chaitanya Joy. Mahaprabhu gave an example of a lady who has a paramour. She's always thinking of her paramour. When will I meet my lover? But at the same time, doing all the duties very carefully. So, this practice in the heart of our heart, thinking of Radha Krishna, and at the same time carrying out our service. So, how to do that? Then Krishna describes the process in the next verse. Anyone remembers it? The verse or the translation? Abhyas yoga yuktena chetasa nanyagaminā paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayan. All of this we have discussed. We are just revising. I mean, so much time is going in just revision. So, Abhyas Yoga, the practice of meditation. How? Chetasa Nanyagamina. So, if someone can do this Abhyas Yoga by Anyagamina, without deviation, then they can attain Krishna, right? So, how to do this practice? Then Krishna speaks about specifically yogis, Ashtang yogis, how they can do this practice. In verse 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and these verses explains Kavim Puranam Manushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaritya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. So it describes 8 different ways how to think of Krishna. He is Kavim, he knows everything. He's Puranam, he's the oldest. He's Anushasitaram, he's controller. He's smaller than the atom. He's Sarvasya Dhataram, he's maintaining everything. He's Achintya, inconceivable. He has a roop, form, and he's Aditya Varanam. He's luminous like sun, and he dispel all the darkness. He's transcendental. So all of these qualities, if we meditate upon, then that's the practice. So after describing this practice in these 4 verses, 5 verses actually, then Krishna describes about how devotees can remember him. In verse 14, through bhakti yoga, right? Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smriti nityasha tasya ham sulabha partha nityayuktasya yogina. And then what happens if someone always thinks of Krishna? He returns to him. And then he describes what does returning to him look like? What kind of abode is he living in? And then he compares it with the material world. In verse 16, 7, that this world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Not just this planet, Brahma Bhuvanaloka, all the planets in this world are dukkhalayam and ashashvatam. They are created. How are they created? At the beginning of Brahma's days. So he describes the entire cycle. Avyakta advyaktaya sarva prabhavantya ragame. So this cycle he describes in detail. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyat brahmano vidu. How in the beginning of millennium this world comes into being, how it's annihilated. But beyond all of that, creation and annihilation, there is अव्यक्तोक्षरा इति युक्तस् तमाहु परमां गतिम यम प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धधाम परमं मम. I have an abode which is unmanifest, it is infallible. And then he describes the timings. First he described the place, then he described the timing and circumstances in which someone leaves, a yogi leaves. What are their destination? Right? When the sun is in Dakshina and when the sun is in Uttarayan. So, but again, he establishes the glory of bhakti. If a devotee leaves the body, what about them? They don't have to consider any such thing. He says, Vedeshu yaggeshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi paramsthanam payati chadyam. So anyone who's engaged in bhakti, the path of devotional service, they will automatically get the results from Vedeshu, study of Veda, Yagyeshu, performing Yagyas, Tapa, of all austerities, Daneshu, all charities, Yat Punya Phalam, all pious everything is included in this path of bhakti. So simply by performing bhakti, what happens? Param sthanam upayati chadyam. He attains all of these things and at the end returns home, back to God. So this was discussed in last week, chapter 7, chapter 8. Does it refresh your memory in any way? Any questions from these 2 chapters before we move ahead? Anything that's... How many of you could read anything from Bhagavad Gita in your holidays? How many of you read chapter 9 before coming to this class? You already read chapter 9. Okay, 3 devotees, right? Damani Mataji, Prerna Mataji, and Bhisham Prabhu, Neelam Mataji, Kishori Mataji. Okay. What about others, my dear devotees? Till the time you read on your own, many things will go above your head, right? Just like we are unable to remember anything from our previous class. We'll forget many things. Till the time you may take notes, go through them, engage with them. I am practicing on my storytelling skills. I have to find many stories. If you have to remember through stories, that's a different part. Okay, let's move to chapter 9 then. Yes, Damani Mataji, your hand is up. You have a question?
Prabhu, I have a question. Like, Krishna sees our intention, right? Like what we are doing. If the things we are doing, our intention is good, but the things are happening wrong. Here, Krishna sees intention. But when you there is the example that Mataji gave about thinking of Krishna
when we are, dying. So the intention of the devotee was he was calling his son, but his name was related to Krishna. So here his intention was different.
That is the glory of the holy name. Narayana. So
Yes.
Krishna is absolute. Doesn't matter if they know what is the constituent of a medicine that we are taking. Medicine will still act. Holy name will still act. Fire will still burn. A child may not know. That's called absolute. That is the glory of the holy name. So from our side, we need to practice taking shelter of Krishna. That's the whole point. But he was fortunate enough that pastime is to establish the glory of the holy name. Uh, so so Krishna is so merciful. Aho bakiyam stanakala kutam. So Baki, uh, the sister of Bakasur, Putana, she came to kill Krishna. That was her intention. And still, Lebhe Gatempa, she got Dhatre. She attained the position of mother of Krishna in the spiritual world. Kamba Dayalam, who is more merciful than Krishna? Yeah. So that's the glory and compassion of Krishna. From our side, we need to think of him favorably. That's the point. Let me share the screen. So chapter 9 is almost similar to chapter 7 in a bit more detail and further developing on chapter 7. So after that question answer session, Krishna is resuming what he started in chapter 7. What was the first verse of chapter 7? What is the result of understanding that knowledge? In chapter 7, verse 1, Jnanam teham savijnanam, idam vakshami asheshata, right? So I'm giving you both Gyan and Vigyan. And this is the perfection, Yatatam api siddhanam. And now he starts chapter 9 in a similar way. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Idam tu te ghuyatamam pravakshyamyanasuyave jnanam vijnanam sahitam yajgyatva mokshase shubhat. So idam tu te ghuyatamam. Now what I'm giving you, pravakshyame, I'm speaking now. Vakshyami means speaking. Pravakshyami means I'm speaking in a very special way. What am I speaking? Ghuyatamam. This knowledge which is Ghuyatamam. There are 3 degrees, right? Confidential, more confidential, and most confidential. So what I'm speaking is most confidential. Ghuyatamam. What is this most confidential knowledge? Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam. So this has 2 aspects. One is Gyan and one is Vigyan. What will happen if by listening to this knowledge, by knowing this or becoming realized in this, what will happen? What will the result? Yaj Gyatva Moksha Se Shubhat. Knowing this, what will happen? Moksha. You will be liberated. From what? Ashubhat. From all inauspicious situations in life. This entire material existence, attachment to it is inauspicious. You'll become completely free. So, one again, very important verse. Srila Prabhupada used to quote it many places. And there are a lot of things to unpack and discuss in this verse. First thing is Guhyatamam. What Krishna is speaking here is very confidential. Why is it confidential? And what is so confidential about it?
Because Krishna is trying to share this with his devotee who has completely surrendered onto him.
Okay, so what is it has to do with confidentiality? Okay,
It is not disclosed to everyone.
yes, why? That's the whole point. That's the question. Why?
It's it is only for devotees who can understand it, because
If
the religion
something,
is not.
see, see, the question is, if something can give this result, moksha se ashubhat, something that is so beneficial for any living entity, why is that guhyatamam? Why it can't be open to all, accessible to all? Is it not? Something that is so beneficial, why is it kept so confidential? That is it. Yes, Netikru?
Because except devotees, the most of the peoples are conditioned by the three modes of material nature. They can't understand that knowledge.
Okay, yes. Okay, let's read out. Um, please someone read this paragraph. Please volunteer. Yes, Abhiram Shah.
The very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, is more or less an introduction to the rest of the book. And in the second and third chapter, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics discussed in the seventh and eighth chapter are specifically related to devotion service. And because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they are called more confidential. But the matters which are described in the ninth chapter deal with unalloyed pure devotion. Therefore, this is called the most confidential. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs, although he is in the material world. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. Similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter, that anyone who is engaged in that way is a liberated person. Ruji, आप म्यूट पे हो ब्रुजी, आप म्यूट हो.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada gives an example in this regard. Suppose someone has a shop. A proper example देता है किसी की किराने की दुकान है. Some customer comes and he asks for an item from that shop. And that item is finished. It is not available. So that shopkeeper says to his assistant, Ramu, please bring this thing from our store. Now Ramu knows when the master is saying, bring this from our store, it means to go to another shop and bring this. It's actually not from store, but to go to another shop and bring that item. But that language is within master and servant. Like they have their language. Only he could understand, not the other person. So similarly, this Bhagavad Gita is actually a knowledge between Krishna and his devotee. So devotees can understand. What is the qualification of a devotee? Anasuyave. So Krishna says, I am speaking to you this knowledge because you are anasuyave. You are non-envious. Because you are never envious of me. Therefore, I am imparting this confidential knowledge to you. Someone who is envious cannot understand this knowledge. Why? Because if someone is envious, he'll not believe the words of Krishna. When Krishna says, by knowing this knowledge, you can become free from birth and death, a person will think, oh, it is an exaggeration. Oh, it is, he'll not be able to believe on the words of Krishna because there is envy in the heart. But that envy is absent from the heart of Arjuna. And therefore, Krishna is choosing him to be the recipient of this knowledge. What does this show? To the degree I am free from envy, to that degree I'll become realized in this knowledge. I'll be able to understand this knowledge. So, what is the number one block in understanding chapter 9 or Bhagavad Gita? Is envy. That is why Srila Prabhupada wrote in introduction, to be a student of Bhagavad Gita, one has to at least theoretically accept Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the starting point. If the starting point is not there, one will not be able to understand Bhagavad Gita in true spirit. So, what cause envy? And what is envy? How do we describe envy? Okay, can you pick up your notebook and pen and write few things in your notebook right now, okay? Or if you're typing, you can type. What is envy? According to you, what is envy?
Jealousy?
Yeah, we have to describe in one line. We are not asking for synonyms, okay? So what does jealousy or envy mean to you? Write in one or two lines. The next question is, does envy show up in your life? Do you remember any incident where perhaps you were envious of someone else? And how did that make you feel? And last question, when envy shows up next in my life, how can I address it? So take 2-3 minutes to think about this question and write it down in your notebook. What does envy mean to you?
Third question. Prabhuji, can you repeat third question? When envy shows next in my life, how I?
How will you address it? How will you navigate it? How would you deal with it, basically? So, what is envy? Have you ever become envious of someone? Any incident, specific incident? Write about that. How did that make you feel? And if envy shows up next in your life, how do you plan to deal with it? Okay, done. Or need more time? You don't have to. And in case you feel courageous enough to share, you're welcome to. Any reflections, any thoughts? Yes, Prerna Madhuri.
Probably for me, envy means that we didn't like anything about a person and we show hatred toward them. And the reason for that is they have achieved something that I didn't have. So I am envious to that person because I didn't get that, but that person is getting that point. So for me, envy is like I'm envious to person if he get the thing that I want but I didn't have. And like story about my own self that I didn't like the first attempt of my medical exam, my medical entrance exam. So I didn't get admission there, but a friend of mine got it. And I was like, how what she had did, what was the problem? Like, what did I didn't do that I didn't get it, and what did she did it that she is having that position and I'm not. So I was at the time envious, but thanks to Krishna that next year I got admission in the university. So the basic point that you are saying, if envy comes in my life once again, then what will I deal with? The dealing is that I should be grateful for what I have right now. And if the things is not Krishna is not giving me anything, the reason is that he knows better than me what is good for me, and he'll give it when that will be the right time. So I should be grateful and thankful to Krishna and pray to him that what I want or what things are. So that's all.
Very wonderful sharing. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Yes, Naitik Prabhu.
Prabhu, my first answer was that um, what is jealousy actually? I have to define jealousy. So when a person cannot see the other person because on being on the lower level or equal to him on the basis of something, like when we can't see a person lower than us. No, when we can't see person higher on us or equal to us on the basis of something that is called jealousy. Like we get jealous of the person. How is that higher on the level of us? How is equal to us? And second question was when I saw the jealousy or enviousness. So I saw a reel in which there was a competition going on, a fashion dress competition, and so in that video, a girl ruined other girl's dress because she was looking more pretty, so that she don't win. That's why she ruined her dress, and I actually feel bad about that. So this was the second question, and the third question you asked was, if I get envious or jealous of something, how will I overcome that? Um, so actually, honestly speaking, I do not know the answer of that because uh I don't know.
Thank you, Naitik Prabhu. So wonderful. Yes, Bisham Prabhu or Neelam Mataji.
Sir, for Prabhuji, for me, envy is criticizing or rejecting divine authority due to ego. Sometimes we are rejecting in our mind, many questions are coming that is creating a conflict that is bringing the negative feeling in our self because of our ego. We don't want to accept the reality. So sometimes I can say that is also cause of envy, jealousy, that we are especially we can see in the devotional service, if somebody is proceeding and they are progressing, we are having the feeling, negative feeling, that why they are progressing, so why they are advancing. So that is for me, that is envy or jealousy. And if I can see, uh, are we envious or someone else? Yes, people are envious, they are jealous. This is the natural feeling. Nowadays everyone is having ego. No one wants to go down or surrender. That's why that is the ego is the main cause of jealousy. And third question, when envy shows next to my life, I can say it comes from comparison. When we are comparing ourselves with others, that is not giving us satisfaction, it is giving us the feeling of insecurity. We are having the feeling of fear in our life, that somebody is going or higher, or you can say they are becoming superior. So that comparison is the root cause, I can say, in my life sometimes. And professionally, not spiritually, I can say professionally, if somebody is progressing, so maybe I can see I will be envious at that point why they are progressing. Or when this point is feeling is coming in my mind, then I'm working on it, that I can look at that, what is triggering that feeling in my mind. I have to control that thing, control my mind, train my mind in a way, in a positive way, that I have to work better so that I can get that position. So this is my condition. I'm share. You want to share?
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
You also
Thank
want
you
to
very
share.
much. So yeah, Srila Prabhupada writes, actually in Srimad Bhagavatam, second verse, Dharma projita kettavatra parama nirmat saranam sata. There also, Srila Vyasadeva is mentioning, this literature is for whom? Nirmat saranam sata. For those devotees who are free from matsara, nirmatsara, free from envy, from Paramhansa. So, Srila Prabhupada writes, this material world means envy. Anyone who has come to this material world They are envious of Krishna. The very reason that we are in this material world, because we envied Krishna, or any living entity envied Krishna. Krishna, why you are enjoyer? Why you are the, with all the gopis? Why I am not there? Why is it that you steal butter and nothing happens to you, but when I try to steal butter, people beat me? Uh, why, Krishna, you can never be caught? Anything you do is all good, but if I try to imitate, I'm in the trouble. So the very reason I want to be enjoyer like Krishna, and that is the reason living entities in this material world. So this world is the beginning of envy from Krishna. And spiritual realization begins when we give up that envy. How to give up that envy? Envy basically means I want what you have, right? Envy also means indirect appreciation of another person. And if I'm feeling envious, that means I'm indirectly appreciating that person. So if I'm indirectly appreciating that person, why not do it directly? Indirectly, anyways, I'm appreciating that person by feeling envious. I have already appreciated that person indirectly. Why not do it directly? Oh, wow. Denying someone or dragging that person down, it means I am protesting against the sanction of Krishna. Every living entity has received certain gifts from Krishna. And I'm asking, why? No, I don't agree to this. Krishna has given this living entity gift. No, but I'm here to protest. I don't agree. So in one way, I'm protesting against Krishna. So envy towards a living entity is also envy towards the Supreme Lord. Because I am denying the sanction of the Supreme Lord. But to the degree I am free from envy. Para dukkha dukhi. That's the sign of Vaishnava. If a Vaishnava sees other person as in miserable condition, they feel misery upon themselves. But sign of envy is para dukkha sukhi. Someone is in trouble, I'm happy. So that's the sign of being a Vaishnava. Their journey is from para dukkha sukhi to para dukkha dukhi. And that the epitome of that is Nityanand Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityanand Prabhu is the most magnanimous, most merciful, doesn't have any envy at all. Nityanand Prabhu is saying, please chant the name of Gauranga. I beg at your feet. I'll roll in the dust of your feet if you chant even once the name of Gauranga. Who will find more merciful incarnation than Nityanand Prabhu and Gauranga Mahaprabhu? So yes, Nitik Prabhu, your hand is up.
Prabhu, actually, I had a question out of the topic. Can I ask?
Yes, please.
So this question is actually very general and common. I had heard this question and still not got the clear statement answer. We have heard that we came from Goloka because we also wanted to control something, and we can see because of enviousness of Krishna we came to here. But in Goloka, there are no desires. Like there is no condition by the three modes of material nature. So how can we get desires on the Golok Vrindavan? Like, like, can you give me a clear answer? Because I truly wanted the answer.
I can just share my understanding. I'm not sure if it is clear enough for you or not. What is the meaning of free will? What is the meaning of free will? If I cannot think any other way than to love Krishna, then what is the meaning of free will? Free will means freedom to say no to Krishna. Only then there is a meaning of love. If everyone always have to choose Krishna and they cannot not choose Krishna, then there's no meaning to freedom and there's no meaning to love. Love becomes meaningful only when there is an option to say no. Does that answer your question? No. Yes. So yes, in Golok Vrindavan, a soul has free will, right? And based on that free will, if you are saying a soul cannot do this, then what is the meaning of free will? That's my question to you. Then why it is called a free will?
But Prabhuji, I was asking that, okay, we have free will. But in Golok Vrindavan, there are no desires. Like, we cannot desire for such material thing in the Golok Vrindavan, where is real peace, real happiness. How can we get that thought at Golok?
Yes. So that is a point of contention even among Vaishnav circles, even among all the scholars, even among the acharyas. There is no common agreement on this proposal. You will find multiple acharyas saying different things. And that is why Srila Prabhupada said, irrespective of any version, point here is to return back first. If you are in a fire, there's a fire in the home. The first thing is to come out of that fire rather than thinking, how did this fire begin? Someone is coming to take you out. No, no, please, I cannot go out. First of all, you tell me how does this fire begin? Only then I'll go out. You have to find the cause. So that's one way of answering it. Second way, Srila Prabhupada said, not everything is understandable at every stage of life. Sometimes some things becomes understandable to the degree we become purified and advanced. Third way of answering this is, free will means there is free will. And causeless means there is no apparent cause to it. It just emerged. That desire came in the heart of living entity. Okay, so let's proceed. So one was Bhuyatamam. Then Krishna is saying Pravakshyami. I'm speaking specially. Pravakshyami. Vakshami is speaking Pravakshyami, specially speaking to you. Because of your quality of Anasuya, where you are not envious of me. And what am I speaking? Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam. It's not that, okay, I studied Bhakti Shastri, I cleared exam, I cleared my CBA, OBA, and that's it. That's Jnana. But Vijnana, we have to demonstrate in my practical life. Then it's a Vijnan. Not just Jnana, but Vijnan as well. Yaj Gyatva Moksha Se Shubhat. So, what is the most inauspicious thing in this life? It is the body. For a soul, the material body is the most inauspicious thing. This material world is the most inauspicious situation. So Krishna is saying, by knowing this Gyan and Vigyan, you will become liberated from these most inauspicious condition of life, that is bodily conception of life. And then Krishna continues to glorify it. Rajvidya Rajkuyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Avyayam. So he says various characteristics. It's Rajvidya, it's Rajguhya, it's Pavitra, it's Uttama, it is Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Avyayam. So how many characteristics? At least 9 I can count. So what I'll be doing now, we'll be dividing you into groups. So each group has to study one quality. And one member of your group has to explain that quality. Okay? So who will do what? You can write that down. Classroom 1. Who will be in the room number 1? You'll have to discuss about Raj Vidya. Who will be in room number 2? We'll be discussing about Raj Guhyam. Who will be in the room number 3? We'll be discussing about Pavitram. Room number 4, Uttamam and Pratyakshagamam. These two together. The next room number 1, 2, 3. Room number 5. Susukham Kartum Avyayam. All of that. Is it clear? Any confusions? I'm repeating. Room number 1, Raj Vidya. If you are in room number 2, Raj Guhyam. Room number 3, Pavitram. Room number 4, Uttamam Pratyakshavgamam. And room number 5, Adharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Entire thing. Entire line.
Prabhu,
Yeah. Please say.
Prabhu, I was asking that we have to define the meanings of the statements.
You have to go through the purport. You have to understand these words and present them to the group in 60 seconds to 120 seconds. I mean, just take maximum 2-3 minutes, right? Explain that. Pavitram will take a little bit more, but all of that's good. Okay, so let's open the rooms. I am unable to find that option. What happened to the rooms allocation? Damini Mataji, can you make me a host? I can't see that option.
Yes, Prabhu, yes, sure.
When it is live streaming, I can't open to the rooms. I'm not sure why I'm unable to see that option and more.
Now you are the host, Prabhu. I also can't see it now.
Okay, yes, I found. Okay, please join the rooms. Okay, join the rooms, discuss in your rooms. Okay. Okay, Bhakti Prakash, Anang Manjari, Devidasi, Priyanka, Limani, are you there in the session? Can you unmute or switch on your videos? Join the breakout rooms, please. Hare Krishna, welcome back. So let's begin. Group number 1. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Who is there? Who's the speaker from group number 1? Kishori Mataji? Yes, please go ahead. Possible to switch on your camera?
Yes, sir. So Prabhuji, Raj Vidya is the king of education because it is all essence of philosophies, and it is the most confidential because confidential
No, no.
transcendental knowledge involves.
Just Raj Vidya. Raj Goyam is group number 2.
Okay. Okay.
So why it is called as Raj Vidya?
Prabhuji, because it gives the all education about the spiritual and about the soul and body.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So Srila Prabhupada explains, it is called as king of education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Raj means Raja. It is Raja of Vidya, all education. So what kind of education are there? Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautam, Karnar, Kapil, Yajnavalkya, Shandilya, Vaishvanar. And finally, there is Vyasadeva. So this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge. The essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of Vedas and different kind of philosophy. It is more. So that's Raj Vidya. Okay. Group number 2. Who's there in the group number 2? Yes, Bhisham Prabhu and Nilamataji. Raj Vidya.
Raj means king or supreme, and Guya means secret or confidential. So we can say Raj Guyam means the king of all secret or the most confidential knowledge. So we can say that this is the knowledge of the supreme power. That's why it is not for the ordinary people. It is hidden. Like there are many analogies given by Srila Prabhupada, like King's private chamber analogy. We can say that Prabhupada he said that in King's palace palace is the public place where everyone can meet the king, but King's private room is for the trusted people. Only trusted people can enter there. So likewise, if we are talking about that knowledge, or that knowledge is confidential in a way that it is only disclosed or open for the pure devotees who have completely surrendered to Krishna. Like I can say, Raj Guyam is the highest, most confidential spiritual knowledge that reveals loving devotion to Krishna, understood only through humility, faith, and surrender. If somebody surrendering to Krishna completely, then only that knowledge will be revealed.
Where is that analogy given that you just spoke? I heard it for the first time. So where is that analogy? Inner chambers of the king.
I was just thinking that maybe I have used Google for that.
Oh, okay.
I have used Google for that, and I thought this will be suitable. Like doctor and patient analogy was also given. That doctor, in
That's
general,
a
he give
that's a new
advice.
analogy. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I'm not sure about it, but I was looking for the analogy, any relevant thing that can I quote
eh,
to connect with.
that's okay. At least Prabhupada didn't give that analogy. I was
Yes.
wondering where that analogy is from. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for letting me know. That means we can't rely on this.
Oh yes, Raj Ghuyam. Srila Prabhupada explains why it is called king of all confidential knowledge. The confidential part involves the difference between soul and body. If you go and ask someone, who are you? I mean, just to know that soul is different from this body. I am not this body, I am soul. That's confidential knowledge. What is more confidential knowledge? That soul is not only different from the body, but the soul is different from super soul. That is more confidential knowledge. Just like Srila Prabhupada writes here, the Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of soul. That is confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing the spirit soul is different from this body and its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. So just this knowledge that soul is eternal, this is very confidential. People don't know it. People don't believe it. Although it's a fact, it's a scientific fact. It's given by the most authoritative source. All the Shastras, Krishna, Acharyas, Krishna gives the analogy, Krishna gives the example to understand. We can see from our own life, but people don't believe it. This is so confidential that I'm not this body, right? Bhisham Prabhu is here, right? If I tell Bhisham Prabhu, you're not Bhisham. The name Bhisham is only of your body. Or Netik, the name Netik is only to the body. It's so confidential, right? But what is even more confidential is, Srila Prabhupada explains further, to think the soul is not super soul. Soul is different from super soul. And the most confidential part is that soul is active. Soul has a form. These activities of spirit soul are therefore indicated as constituting the king of all knowledge. And what kind of activities? The soul is the servant of super soul. Soul and super soul, there's a loving relationship that is called as bhakti. So these activities on the spiritual platform in relation with super soul is the most confidential part of all knowledge. Just to know that I'm not this body, I'm soul, it is confidential. But that soul is active, soul has a form, soul has things to do. Soul does not merge into void. Soul enters into spiritual world, which is full of variety. That is the most confidential part. How many people think there is a spiritual world? There is a world beyond this world. There is an actual, people are not able to trust that. People have no conviction because it is so confidential. It's not revealed to everyone, but it's there. It's there for a fact. It's a truth. So that's why Krishna says Raj Guhyam. So Raj Vidya, it's a king of all philosophies, Raj Guhyam. It's most confidential. Okay. The third part, that's Pavitram. Okay, group number 3.
Hare Krishna. Vijay.
Yes.
So, Prabhupada here very beautifully explained that Pavitram means this knowledge is the purest form of all activities. And Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example of the trees and its seed. There is a seed, this is the first phase, then we sow it, it becomes to fructify. sprout hota hai fruit. Then it becomes a tree, and then it has fruits. So similarly, every living being has this same sinful cycle. Like something is yet to be fructified, and some are being enjoyed by that living entity. So all these distress and pain that can be purified by this by devotional service. So Prabhupada explains here, for those who are engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord, all sinful reaction, whether it is fructified, whether it is in stalk or in form of a seed, it gradually vanishes. So therefore, it is called pavitram. There, it is. That's why it is called pavitram. And Prabhupada further he explains that how by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the soul, the person becomes purified of all material contaminations. And above all, if he hears and he broadcasts this message of devotional activities in a mission, and he helps in missionary activities, he gradually feels spiritual progress. So the method itself is so pure that simply by engaging in it, one becomes pure. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Viram Shant Prabhu. Yes, Pavitram. Again, it's pure, purer, and purest. It's purest of all knowledge. What do we mean by purest and why it is called as purest? For that, Srila Prabhupada explains the cycle of sin. What is the cycle of sin? Let's understand by this flow diagram. Are you able to see the screen? So it is said the root cause of any sinful action is avidya. Because of avidya, there is first of all desire, which is called as bijam, sinful desire. To desire to enjoy, desire for sense gratification. And that comes from ignorance. So once that desire is there, the next step is to act on that desire. When one actually carries out a sinful activity, which is called as papa. So when pap is done, then there are two kinds of results of that pap. Actually, there are two stages of that. One is called as aprarabdha. So action has been done, but result is yet to come. That is called as aprarabdha. That's reaction in unmanifest stage. Some actions may give instant result. Some actions may give result after some time. For example, if I slap someone, the person will slap me back. Immediate result. But if I don't study now, the result may not come immediately. Result may come after 6 months, after 1 year in exam. If you bow a rice crop, it may give you, the crop may fructify within 6 months or so. If you bow a mango tree seed, the mango, you will receive mango after maybe 10, 15 years, right? So different seeds take different time to fructify. But action has been done, reaction is awaited. So that is aprarabdha. Now, from aprarabdha, there are two options, two kinds of result. The first result is prarabdha, which comes in form of suffering, either mental suffering or physical suffering. But there is another result that is called as kutam, which means sinful disposition. That means the tendency to act again, the tendency to commit sin again increases, which again leads to sinful desires. Desire again lead to pap. Pap again lead to aprarabdha. So this body, what is it? It's prarabdha. It's the result of sin already. Some disease, what kind of eyesight I have, what kind of height I have, all of those things, their result, they're in the prarabdha stage. I'm already experiencing the suffering of the body, the soul is experiencing. But there may be some other activities which I've committed, but the result is yet to be fructified. And then there is certain disposition. So why this knowledge is called as pavitra? There are many kinds of knowledge. And those knowledge may help you overcome this. Overcome this kind of suffering. Like you have done the path, and they may help. If you do the prayashchit, they may relieve you from sinful result. There are many kinds of prayashchit, but in Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, Shukdev Goswami gives this example. There is an elephant who goes in the river to take bath, but when it comes out, it again puts mud on its body. So what is the use of such a bathing place, such a bath? So similarly, there are people who commit sin, they do prayashchit, but they again commit sin. Because this proclivity to commit sin is still there. Prayashchit does not address this. But the knowledge given in this 9th chapter about devotional service addresses the root cause of it, avidya. It removes avidya. It removes sinful disposition. It removes bijam. It removes papa. And that is why it is called as pavitram, the purest of all. No other knowledge can relieve one from sinful disposition. Desire to commit sin again and again still remains in the heart. One may become free from suffering due to some sort of prayashchit or tapasya, but tendency to commit sin does not go away. But it can go away with the knowledge that is given in this chapter. That is why Krishna is saying it is purest. Pavitram. Okay. Is it clear? Any questions so far? So Raj Vidya, Raj Guyam, Pavitram. User room, group number 4. Next. Uttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam. Room number 4. Who was there, please?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So who is the
Prabhuji, Pratyaksh Hansa.
Okay, please go ahead and explain.
So Prabhuji, Pratyaksha mean directly experience and Avagama mean understood and Dharmya means the principle of the religion. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Pratyakshavagama means the knowledge is directly experienced. Means a devotee can see the Lord's guidance and feel the results of Yoga in this present moment. This is the very essence of all religion. The eternal occupation of the soul, loving service to the Krishna, and together they show that devotional service is not a theoretical faith, but a practical, verifiable path that immediately brings transcendental joy and liberation from the material misery.
Yes, thank you. So let's see the verse. So before that, there's another quality which is called as Uttamam. Means it is beyond Tama. Tama means darkness of this material world. It is Uttamam, it is transcendental knowledge. It takes from darkness of ignorance to knowledge. That is, it is Uttamam. Pratyakshaavagamam, it is practically experienced. It's Pratyaksha. It's so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. Anyone has, any one of you have ever perceived the results directly? How many of you ever felt joy in Kirtan? Or when you went to take darshan of the deities? Or when you offered some flower? Or when you did any service? Any one of you ever felt any happiness ever in your life? Yes, right? When we chant japa, it may be very heavy in the beginning, but there is some pleasure. And that is why we continue to chant. Otherwise, how is it possible that we are chanting every day? Is it not? When you read Bhagavad Gita, it may it may even look little difficult. It may even little go above our head. But when we chant the verses, when we read those lines, instructions, it gives certain pleasure, certain happiness. What about Krishna Prasad? How many of you ever felt happy when you honor prasads, right? So it's Pratyakshaavagamam. Is it? It's practical realize. Otherwise, how is it possible to dance in ecstasy while chanting? So to the degree we chant without offenses, we feel transcendental pleasure. So this is actually seen. And if not, if one engages not only in hearing, but in trying to broadcast the message of devotion, or if you engage in helping missionary activities, gradually feel spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. So this is Pratyaksha. And Dharmyam is the essence of all religion. Okay, the last group. Pratyaksha. Susukhum kartum avyayam. Room number 5.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, actually, the Prerna Nepani Mataji was going to represent, but I don't know why she left.
Okay, she is joined back.
Oh, she joined again.
Anyone can? Yes, Prerna Mataji, room number 5, group 5. I think there's some network issue. Prerna Mataji, Netak Prabhu. Either of you, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prerna Mataji, please go ahead.
Am I audible? Okay, so our topic was the last thing that was Sukham Kartum Avyayam. That the knowledge that the king of our knowledge, that Raj Vidya, it is very like it will give us joy and it is everlasting. So it will give us joy is like the devotion service is very the bhakti yoga is very easy to perform because in the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj has given us that nine forms of bhakti, that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Sevanam. So in those devotional practices, we can get that devotional knowledge, the perfect knowledge, and it is everlasting because uh, so it will grant us that eternal abode of Krishna, that is Golok Vrindavan, and there is the real happiness is there because the like it was a line in the purport. It was that the actual devotional service begins after liberation. In this material world, we are just practicing so that we can perform it in the eternal abode of Krishna, and there is the perfect joy and eternal like knowledge there. So that it explains that Sukham Kritam Avyayam. It will give us the eternal.
Okay, thank you, Pranamataji. So there's one more point in this. Not only it will
Prabhu,
give, yes,
sorry, Prabhu. Actually, there was another point. Can I add?
yes, please.
Like our topic was Susukham Kartam Avyayam, and there was like the happiness is everlasting. It was not like the Mayavadi philosophers claim. Although they sometimes take so-called devotional service, actually their idea is that we will do devotional service all over our life, and after that, we will be merged into Brahman, and then our happiness is like ended. But in actuality, after liberation, our devotional service continues. When the devotee goes to the spiritual planet in the kingdom of God, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Supreme Lord. So that's how this happiness is everlasting. And yeah.
Yes, thank you. Avyayam. It means everlasting. So very important points here. Pratyaksh avagamam dharmya susukhum kartavya. So this is susukhum. Why? Simply by sitting, one can learn, one can eat palatable dishes. So it is not that it will give maximum highest sukha in spiritual world, but it is not even austere to perform. No one is telling you to go to Himalayas and stand on single leg like Hiranyakashipu did, or stand in cold water in Ganga in the winter times, or in the summertime build a fire circle around you and meditate in center of that. No, no one is saying any such thing. If no one is saying, okay, give up all sorts of eating, stop seeing anything, stop hearing anything. No, it is susukham. You chant about Krishna, dance for Krishna. And if you get tired, honor prasads. That is the process of Gaurang Mahaprabhu. Singing, dancing, honoring prasad. And these are so joyful processes. To dress Krishna, to make garland for Krishna, to worship Krishna, to perform abhishek for Krishna, to serve Vaishnavas. Everything is such a joy and joyful experience in life. To go to Tirth Yatra in association of devotees, it's a joy. To go and take bath in Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, we don't get Ganga, Yamuna, Kaveri. So many sacred rivers are there. Taking bath in that, it's such a joyful experience, is it not? To cook for Krishna. So it is joyfully performed. And even in the most poverty-stricken condition, I may not have any money, but I can still pick up my beads and chant Hare Krishna. I may not have money to even buy the beads. I can count on my fingers and chant Hare Krishna. Lord is ready to accept anything, patram pushpam phalam toyam, if offered with love, right? So it is not only it will give me spiritual world and only going after going to spiritual world, I'll be happy. No, it means it can be executed in a happy mood. So the more you are happy, the happier you are while executing devotional service, more purified you'll become. It's joyfully executed, right? And it is eternally existing. It's avyayam. Okay, any questions so far? Do you believe it's joyfully performed? Anyone who says, no, Prabhu, where is the joy? It's so struggle to sit for 2 hours in class. Where is the joy? Anyone feeling like that? Okay, so we'll stop here. Any questions so far? We'll complete chapter 9 tomorrow. Please, if you haven't read already, come reading it. We'll go a little faster pace, the remaining chapter 9. If there are no questions, then we'll end the class here now. So we revised chapter 7, chapter 8, and we discussed first and second verse of chapter 9 today. In the first verse, Krishna is saying, Idam tute guhyatamam. I'm giving this the most confidential part because you're free from envy. And I'm giving, through this jnana and vijnana, you'll become delivered from all the inauspicious conditions. Moksha se shubha. And then second verse, Raj Vidya, Raj Kuyam, Pavitram idam uttamam, Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam, Susukam kartava. We discussed all these characteristics. Yes, Prerna Mataji. Your hand is up. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. We'll stop here.
Hare
No.
Krishna. Hare
Okay.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Babuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.